MTC's Corrections Division now serves more than 31,000 offenders at 24 facilities in 8 states. It's MTC's largest division, and it's growing. Whether you work in corrections or one of our other divisions, understanding public-private partnerships in corrections may be helpful in answering questions about why MTC is in the business of securing offenders. Just weeks ago, we launched 5 videos explaining various aspects of public-private partnerships in corrections and dispelling common myths about this partnership. These videos can be found on the Association of Private Correctional and Treatment Organizations website, or APCTO for short. The site was created by several private contractors, including MTC. The videos pose these questions. How do companies save government's money in corrections? What safety and security standards must contractors meet? What training do companies provide correctional officers? What rehabilitation and education programming do offenders receive in contractor-operated facilities? And who are private companies accountable to? And who determines the length of an offender sentence? MTC is bionic. We care about those we serve, including our offenders. Our motto is rehabilitation through education. We want our inmates to be successful once they leave our facility. So what are the common misconceptions? One, that companies don't save states and the federal government's money operating correctional facilities.
We believe that there are some economic advantages.
But state corrections leaders, like Ohio Director Gary Moore, explain that companies are mandated by contract to save taxpayers' money. In Ohio, it's 5%.
If you think 5% and you think about a prison's budget that may be $35 million, it starts to become a significant savings.
A new study by economics professors at Temple University clearly shows companies save government's money by partnering with them in corrections.
Generally speaking, we found that privatization would save taxpayers a substantial amount of money.
How about safety and security? Are facilities operated by governments safer than those operated by companies?
They're very similar in terms of safety, and in fact there's extra layers of control in private prisons because of effective contract monitoring and oversight.
Ohio's Director of Corrections says his facilities are not immune to incidents.
I'd love to say no. I would love to say no, particularly after last week in one of our facilities, but no, they happen.
Critics of public-private partnerships in corrections say companies don't properly train their officers. But the reality is our officers receive the same exact training that public officers receive. Mississippi Department of Corrections Commissioner Chris Epps.
They receive the same training that we have to have. All adult correction institutions have to have 120 hours of training.
So they get the exact same training as our staff, not just the same training, they do it at the same time next to each other in the same classroom.
Some critics have published opinion pieces arguing that companies keep offenders in prison longer to increase profits. This too is incorrect, and it's dispelled in one of our new videos.
There's always stories out there about, privatization wants everybody to get locked up because they're going to make money on it, and that's not true.
Judges establish the sentence. We manage the sentence computation and release decisions.
In our 4th video on the partnership between government agencies and companies in corrections, we explain why programming is so vital to the rehabilitation of offenders, and why, in many cases, companies lead the way in innovation.
One of the things that I think is happening in the corrections industry as a whole these days, public or private, is an increased emphasis on rehabilitation and reentry. And a lot of that is, a lot of the innovation, I think, can be led by the private sector.
We have realized that the privates can do it just as well, in some cases better than states.
Learn more about these topics by visiting the APCTO website at apcto.org. That's APCTO.org. Public-private partnerships in corrections have thrived for decades, and MTC has been at the forefront of innovation in safety and security, officer training, and inmate programming.
We get better, and I think they get better as we work together and we start to identify best practices, and we start to compete a little bit, and we start to use metrics to take a look at performance, whether it's programs or violence.